they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched. And because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. Who had ears to hear, let him hear. And his disciples and all of the people that he was teaching heard this, but they didn't understand. So later, when his disciples were with him alone, they came to him and said, "What were you talking about?" And if we go down to verse 19, in that same chapter, he begins to explain. "Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it, yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that received seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receives seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. When we look at this parable, it looks straightforward somewhat on the surface. We've got 4 types of hearers, and their reaction is what characterizes them when they hear the word. People, he says, that hear it by the wayside is stolen out of their heart because they don't understand it. Then there are people that it's sown into thorny ground because the stones are there. It cannot take root in their heart. There are people that are sown on thorny ground that it does actually take root, but by and by the thorns choke out the word and it becomes unfruitful. Whatever was going to be produced in their life because of the word is choked out and damaged and destroyed. And then he talks about the good ground, the people that actually hear and understand, receive and obey the word, and that begins to bring forth fruit in their lives. But I want to look at this in a little different way than we normally do. We usually, when we look at these scriptures, we think, okay, so that means 3/4 of the people, or 1/4 of the people that hear the word are actually going to bear fruit, and the other 3/4 of the people that we speak to are not. And God, I have to say this, in my experience, does not work on the law of averages. He told us to do this, to cast your bread upon the waters. In many days you find it, and to cast it in every season, because you don't know whether this one or that one or both of them will prosper. But there is a truth, I think, that we can see in this parable, and it has to deal with what kind of soil are you? What kind of soil are you? But we don't need to leave it there. We don't just have to say, well, I'm stony ground, and leave it there. So I'm not gonna receive the word. A farmer, when he takes over a plot of land, sometimes has to fix the ground so that it can bear fruit. And it may come time in our life that we may have to work with God in fixing the ground where we are trying to sow the seed, or indeed work on ourselves so that we can fix the ground so that we become good ground. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit and I'm going to talk just from the standpoint of a pure agricultural standpoint. And looking at this, it says a farmer deals with several types of soil. Okay, and his survival depends on learning how to work with all of these types of soil. If you think about the pioneer days when people were coming from the east and they were going west and they were going to establish farms and homesteads, they didn't know what kind of soil awaited them. Some of them were fortunate to go into like the Mississippi Delta where that soil was fertile and rich. But some people went up north and that soil wasn't always as forgiving. That soil had to be worked. That soil had to be plowed up. And our hearts are the same way. I looked in an agricultural, I think this is taken from the Farmer's Almanac, and it's instructions of how to prepare the ground when you are wanting to plant for the season. And it gives these instructions. Identify your soil type. Clay, is it sandy, is it silt, or is it loam? And amend it accordingly. It doesn't say leave it the way it is. It says find out what it is and amend it. Then one other thing it says is remove weeds, rocks, sticks, and debris from the garden bed. If digging up grass, cut the sod into small squares and pry it out. Loosen the soil to a depth of 8 to 12 inches to allow roots to grow deeply and access oxygen. Now there are things in here that look straightly agricultural, but if we'll look deeper into it, we can apply it to our heart. Add compost, aged manure, or other organic materials to enrich the soil with nutrients, improve the texture, and enhance water retention. Avoid compacting soil by walking on the beds. Use designated paths instead. In the parable of the sower, he's not just talking about some ground. He's talking about our heart. Because the book of Proverbs tells us in Proverbs 4:23, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Because your heart is where the seed of the word of God is going to grow. But your heart has to be prepared and maintained, or death to the word is going to follow in your life. So let's talk about these 4 hearers that he talks about. And the first that he talks about is the wayside hearer. Talks about the word falling on the wayside and it not being taken in at all, actually, and just that the fowls of the air are going to come and get it. So it bears no fruit. It makes no change in the life of the person. What do you think of when you think of the word wayside? What kind of image comes to your mind?
Trench. A dirty trench.
A dirty trench. What else? Anything else? I think of the shoulder of the road. The wayside. And when you thinking of the times in Jesus' time where the beggars and everybody used to sit on the wayside and they would be subject to all the dirt and the filth that the people would stir up going by, people throwing trash because it's, after all, it's just nothing. It's not the road. Kicking rocks to the side. These were the people that were left to themselves. These were the people that didn't give much to society. They were trodden upon and compacted. Remember, our instructions said don't walk on the soil. Why? Because it will become hard and compacted and you won't be able to sow. After all that the world has put upon them, and you'll see people like this, they're not soft anymore. The word that falls upon their hearts falls on a confused heap among all kinds of philosophies that pass by. Trauma, error, human suffering, falsehood, betrayal, and their understanding. The Bible talks about becoming darkened. And this is kind of what is happening in a wayside hearer. Could it be, we ask, that the wayside hearer's heart has now formed its own understanding of the world based on the experiences it's seen? And so when something soft and loving and hopeful like the word of God comes to it, it can't comprehend it. It's so far